to Tabletop CP. And today we're going to be doing a little tutorial video. Andre's going to be showing us how to make the road. So we get a lot of requests on how do we make these roads, and we use them all the time. And they're pretty iconic to the channel, I think, and we've gotten, like I said, a bunch of requests on how to make them. Well, we're about to make some more, and Andre has decided to show us how we do it. So, yeah, go ahead, Andre.
Well, yeah, no, I'm thinking, when did we do these? Like 10 years ago the first time?
It was a long time ago.
It's been a while ago.
Yeah.
And we got really lucky with it because we were just kind of faking it, and they turned out really awesome, held up really well. So this is our next redo. So this material, I call it micarta board. It's just a brown 1/8 inch thick. It's usually got one rough side and one smooth side. We're working with it with the rough side down, and yeah, so we went with 4 inches as our road width, and that's kind of a narrow 2-lane road, 1940s-ish for scale. So we just kind of stuck with that and went with it. So this is approximately a 8-inch wide strip of scrap that I had. So I'm just going to mark 4 inches there, 4 inches there, marking 4 inches down. Oops, and my straight edge isn't long enough, so I'm going to come back and put in another 4-inch mark and just put a line here so that when we start doing the sawing. The good news about this is it's a dirt road. Does it matter if it's perfectly straight? No.
Not at all.
Is it? We cut them perfectly straight, and you may have noticed we've got these long strips here. These are actually 8-footers. The reason for that is this material comes, you can buy it in as large as a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet, and that's what I had, and I have a table saw available, so I just ran it through the table saw and cut 4-inch strips. And for making long chunks of straight road, that's super easy. But honestly, we're going to show you a couple different saws, and realistically it doesn't matter how bad you are with a saw, because if you can't cut on the lines, it don't matter. It just a little more authenticity. Okay, so
natural.
So there we've got just a straight road piece.
Okay.
And here I'm gonna go ahead, and we've got obviously a small road piece, a couple curved pieces, and this. So I could just do that, but that's kind of cheating. So what I'm gonna do is find the center of this, which is right in that vicinity there, and I'm going to mark center on both sides, and I guess I don't actually have to draw it out, but I did. Now I'm going to go 2 inches either side of that center line mark. So we've got a 2-inch, and this will be upside down because I'm writing towards me, but 2 inches plus 2 inches, we got our 4-inch road.
Okay.
Same thing over here. I'm just gonna come up 2 inches and 2 inches, and now we've got the road, or what would be just a road going straight down if we just had that piece there.
Okay.
Gonna do the same thing going this direction. Okay, so doing the same thing, gonna mark off 8 inches, 8 inches, and that'll give me the square.
It's kind of hard to see those lines, but
that help out a little
bit, yeah.
Okay, all right, and doing the same thing. So finding my 4-inch, I don't even have to mark the center. I can just do 2 inches and then 4 more inches. So you could do the center and come back, or if you know you got 8 inches, just come in 2 inches from each side.
Yeah.
And again, drawing my lines across. And now these corners are going to wind up being these cutouts here. So that literally can just be a
Draw an arc.
And could I just freehand this when I do the cut? Probably. I like to draw it in just so I kind of know how close I am to, in case I kind of get lost in the cut.
Yep.
And
there it is. So that's how to draw an intersection.
yeah, so we're literally just got 5 cuts. Chopping, well, because we already had the 8-inch strip, cutting it into the 8-inch square and then trimming the corners. And so we got those 2 pieces. And then for the roads, same kind of concept of, I like to just kind of make myself a guide. So if I mark off 4 inches on my stick, and okay, let's say I do my road curve, something like that. Well, then I can come back and I can use my stick to kind of keep my my curve going, and really trying to keep the ends so that we're at about a 4-inch. Obviously, when you connect your roads up, it's nice if they all line up and you're not way out of whack on them. So trying to stick to that 4 inches on the ends. If it wobbles a little bit, anywhere in between, well,
yeah,
okay.
Cool.
All right.
All right, so that's a 4-way intersection and a curve and 2 straight pieces. All right, so here we are outside of the Nerd Cave. A rare field trip outside of the Nerd Cave. And Andre is going to just cut out the pieces that he just drew. The curved piece. We'll start with the straight road. He's got his battery-powered circular
saw, and I just adjusted the depth just because the less blade you got sticking out, if something stupid happens, the less damage it does. Not that I ever do anything stupid.
No.
Okay, so we don't really have a workbench here, and I'm going to try and do this without chopping the stool up.
I'll hold one side.
No?
All right.
Nah. Stay clear.
Stay clear, Andre's cutting.
I'm just lining up the circular saw. Going to make a single pass right down my my guideline, and we'll see how it comes out.
There you go. Sorry about that. So what happened?
So this wasn't quite 8 inches wide, so
Okay.
that's why I don't have 2 pieces that are 4 inches. But I'm hoping this larger piece is 4 inches, and this smaller one is going to be, the 1/8 inch we were short to begin with, plus another eighth for the saw blade kerf, cutting off, making sawdust. So this is kind of messy. That's why we're outside, and it's basically just sawdust glued together is what this material's made out of. So it cuts relatively clean. Do one more with the circular saw.
Okay. All right. So now he's going to do the intersection. This should be interesting.
It should. Woohoo! Super exciting. All right.
Oh, now we got the.
So now I'm pulling up a jigsaw.
Okay.
So this has got a blade that's just going up and down, and that's got a little more teeth than we really need for this project, but it's the only blade I've got. So this saw, I can actually make corners and curves, and that's why I'm switching it up. So the circular saw, great for relatively straight cuts. Going to the jigsaw for the curves. And You can see I missed my line a little bit here, but I was pretty accurate on my start and finish, which is really all I care about because that'll maintain my 4-inch road. The rest of these curves, we honestly don't really want them all identical, so it works that I'm just kind of freehanding. And that one I really missed my line, but here again, doesn't matter.
Beginning and end are 4 inches. That's the important thing.
Yep.
So they line up with the other roads.
So gonna go ahead and cut out the last curve piece, and then we're gonna show you the tricky part to this, which is getting those beveled edges on there and putting the texture on the roads, which is something we figured out last time. A little trial and error, but we really like the results we got, so we'll be showing you that here shortly. And the last cut.
Next thing we're going to do is we're going to have Andre is going to bevel the edges to give that road a more natural look, and then we're going to rough up the surface. So the first thing he's going to do is use his belt sander.
And you could honestly probably do this hand sanding it. Takes a lot longer. Using a file. I meant to bring one. I thought I'd try that out just to see how it worked, but honestly I'm a little lazy for that. So you do have to be careful. We have ruined a few pieces just through over enthusiastic beveling, but yeah, here's what happens. I'm looking to get the thickness down to about 1/3 of the original thickness, so I'd like to go a little bit more. I do want to be careful that I don't dig in too much. It is easy to wear off too much on the corners just because there's not as much material there. And I do try and get an uneven edge along here just by rotating, changing the angle of the belt as it's coming along. It just gives you a little more texture to your actual road edge. So that's looking pretty good. I mean, you can go a little bit thin in some places, but just from a durability perspective, you want to try and keep a little less, close to a 1/16th, yeah, between a 1/16th and a 32nd of material there, just because if you wind up with a knife edge there, it's going to get chipped up, banged up, and it'll disintegrate on you. So. Yeah. That should wear pretty nicely.
Cool. So we'll do the other edge and then we'll come back for the next step. All right. So Andre has finished beveling the both edges, and now we're going to texture the top of the road.
And just as a safety disclaimer, this works a lot better if you've got if you're using clamps, keeping your hands free from the material. It's a bit safer than what I was just doing there, and probably a better idea. So
Yeah, don't do it like we do it.
yeah. So this is actually the trick part of what we figured out last time. And what I've got here is a metal wheel. I know it looks like brass, but I don't believe it's actual brass. But it looks to be about a 1/4 inch wheel and by 3 inches, just on a standard drill motor. And what this does is we figured out if you kind of just drop it along the road and do it where the tire, you know, kind of space it like you would for wheel ruts, it gives a real cool texture to the road. So generally we just texture right down the middle with occasional potholes off to the sides where, you know, erosion and passing vehicles or whatever your imagination provides. But here we go. So that's a somewhat roughed up surface. You could definitely go a bit more. The nice thing about this brush is when it digs in, you're actually winding up with these little groove marks, which really kind of gives it that tire tread in mud kind of texture.
Yep.
And when you paint and you know, flock, sand, whatever you're doing to texture over this, that still tends to come through. I dug in deep in a couple places. I went light in a few places. More is not necessarily better on all of this. It's kind of a trial and error thing to kind of get the feel that you like and you're looking for. But I'd say this is probably ready to go in and get finished up.
The next step. All right. So another thing, we were just talking, and we forgot that when we did our other roads, we actually did just a really light surface roughing of the entire thing, and just did those ruts a little bit deeper. And that's just to give something for the sand to stick to when we glue it down.
And when you're doing that overall roughing, if you kind of work it this direction with the brush, it's a little easier to not dig in and make it a little evener than working it this way. Obviously you're going to do whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
But
However rough you want to make it.
this is how we figured out. Careful of the edges, they will catch. Better way to work the end than getting tricky like I was doing what I just said not to do is I'm spinning this direction at the moment, so if I work off this direction I won't have that problem.
Okay. Make some deeper ruts, or deeper ones for the wheel ruts.
Yeah, I put in a little more depth on a couple, and you know, you'll figure out how much texture. It's not like you can't come back and put in more or just adjust as you go. I think this is going to be our prototype. Travis will take this, finish it up, and figure out if we've got the right amount of rough up and texture, and if not, we'll adjust accordingly.
Yeah, like we said, we haven't made roads for 10 years. It's been a long time. So this is actually kind of refreshing our memory on how we did it. But so what I'll do now is I'm going to make this into a winter road. So I'm going to texture it with some sand. We'll add the snow, the grass, and stuff like that. And that'll be the final step in the process.